Five Al Jazeera journalists have been murdered in a targeted Israeli strike. Anas al-Sharif, Mohammed Qaika, cameraman Ibrahim Zafir and Mu'amin Aliwa and assistant Mohammed Nafal were killed. Anas was murdered after a tent for journalists was hit outside the main gate of a hospital. The well-known Al Jazeera correspondent reported extensively from northern Gaza. He was a mere 28 years of age and a key source of news from Gaza City and the north for international audiences ever since Israel's war on the Strip began 22 months ago. Earlier on Sunday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pledged to allow journalists into the Gaza Strip to cover events there, but stressed that ensuring the safety of media personnel was a key priority. And this was just hours before his army murdered 5 Al Jazeera journalists.
In fact, we have decided and have ordered, directed the military to bring in foreign journalists, more foreign journalists, a lot. There's a problem of assuring security, but I think it can be done in a way that is responsible and careful to preserve your own safety. So the directive has been since, when is it, 2 days ago. And from what you're telling me, it hasn't yet been implemented, but it should be.
Let's get back to Marwan Bishara. He's Al Jazeera's senior political analyst, and he joins us from Paris. Marwan, you've had time to collect your thoughts after the shocking news. Where does your mind rest now?
In this very last clip you played, I wish our viewers around the world will look at it again and again. You need to understand here something. There's something psychopathic about this man, Netanyahu. There is something psychopathic. Not only that he's a psychopathic liar, I think he's a psychopathic murderer. Because the way he was describing how he guarantees the safety of journalists in Gaza, and the same day he bombs a tent of journalists, this is not normal. What do I mean by this is not normal? This is not normal criminality. This is a special kind of criminality. This is a psychopathic criminal that orders the killing of a journalist. And they're not denying it. They are not denying it. The same day they ordered the killing of our colleagues, 5 of them, is the day he told foreign journalists that he would be guaranteeing their safety. There's something sick about that. There's something wrong about that. And for that man to be the prime minister, the longest serving prime minister in Israel, who has been responsible for the genocide in Gaza, who is indicted for war crimes in Gaza, this Benjamin Netanyahu should not be allowed to be on the loose. Now, more than that, yes.
Who is going to stop him?
This is the problem with what we're having. Who would have stopped Netanyahu the past 22 months? It should have been his allies. It should have been his enemies. But Israel's enemies in the Middle East are too impotent and too weak and too corrupt. And his allies, who claim to be liberal Democrats and humanists standing for universal human values, have decided that Ukraine is more important than Gaza. Ukrainians maybe have, whiter skin than the people in Gaza, born for a better God than those in Gaza. Not sure why exactly. Perhaps because those in Gaza are Muslims. I don't know. There could be a good number of reasons. But they decided to back this government, not just for the killing of some 100+ journalists, but for the killing of perhaps over 100,000 people. We know officially it's 60,000+, but we know from the various estimates by credible sources, if you combine everyone, the ones who are not being counted, the ones who are on the revel, he's killed already over 100,000 people, and no one had stopped him. Why would they stop him today after the killing of 5 journalists? The problem is that the international public opinion, meaning here, the people in France, here, the people in the UK, here, the people in Germany, in Holland, in the United States, in Canada, everywhere else in the world, the people now want an end to the war. Even in the United States, 45% of the people in the United States think that Israel is committing genocide. 74% wants an end to the war. And what does Netanyahu do? Kill several dozens of people every day. And what did he say today in the press conference? I'm not sure if you remember, but just to remind our viewers around the world, he said the following, and I'm summarizing more or less accurately. He said, it's Hamas that is responsible for the destruction of Gaza because it booby-traps buildings. Hamas has booby-trapped everything in Gaza, he said, and they are the responsible for the destruction in Gaza. They're the ones who are responsible for the killing of the people in Gaza, and they are the ones who are responsible for the starvation in Gaza because of the way they've been looting the food. While at the same time, he told the journalists that Israel has been doing everything in its power in order to protect the people in Gaza, in order to feed the people in Gaza, in order to avoid any violations of human rights in Gaza. That's Netanyahu today,
Marwan.
the man who ordered the killing of the 5 journalists.
This is it, Marwan. 5 of our colleagues, in fact. How do we get justice for them?
Well, there's certainly something that I'm sure Al Jazeera is already studying. Al Jazeera has had a long experience with its journalists being killed because of the way Al Jazeera functions as, the voice of the voiceless. It's been the motto for the past 20, 30 years, and I think it continues as is. And I think there probably should be some legal process to be taken. But I think just as well, because those legal processes take forever, what needs to happen today is that we together, the thousands of us, the journalists at Al Jazeera and our sister networks everywhere, that we need to continue to do our job, because the best response to the killing of our colleagues is by continuing to do what we do, because this is the slap to Netanyahu and his government and to his genocide in Gaza, for us to continue to report and to continue to do it with the same courage of Hani Mahmoud that we just heard earlier on your news hour. Hani, that voice, that reporting, that strength, that credibility is the enemy of Israel and its genocidal government. It is that voice that gets there, stands up. I remember him only a few months ago, in front of the Kuwaiti hospital as it was bombed by Israel, when he said immediately on air, and he's a father, apparently he's a working father, and he said, Baba, come here. Telling his son, who apparently was there playing right in front of him, because there are no schools in Gaza. There are no schools in Gaza for children to go to. So Hani Mahmoud's son was right there in front of him as the hospital was bombed behind him. And his first reaction was, Baba, come to me. Dad, you come to me. Because we know from Al Jazeera and its journalists, not only they've been killed, but their loved ones have been killed. Their sons and daughters and brothers and sisters and friends and colleagues have been killed by Israel. And I want to correct one thing before I go. It's very important, and I need our viewers around the world to listen to this very carefully. I agree with much of, or all of what Yossi have said earlier before me, but I need to emphasize a point. It doesn't matter whether Netanyahu or whether what Israel said about al-Sharif is correct or not. It's absolute fabrication, it's wrong. But it doesn't matter. Because if every American journalist who served in Iraq and Afghanistan would have been killed because there is suspicion that they work for the CIA is okay, if every French and British journalist would be killed because they work for the MI5 or something like that, then I think there will be no Western journalists working in the Middle East. It's not okay to kill a journalist in a tent of journalists because you accuse him of something. If you accuse him of something, you take him to court. You make a complaint. You follow certain procedures with the network, with the International Union of Journalists, and so on and so forth. You don't kill a journalist who've been doing their jobs for months on, day in, day out, night and day, and claim later that they work for Hamas. That doesn't wash. It doesn't matter. It's wrong. It's a lie. It's a fabrication, as usual. But this psychopathic liar should not get away with killing a journalist and simply attaching an accusation to it. It doesn't wash, because otherwise every single Western journalist covering a war that a Western government is involved in is going to be a target. Why? Because Israel has done it.
Marwan Bishara, thank you for your thoughts there. Marwan Bishara, Al Jazeera.
Don't miss out, get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.